A box. Can you kind of guess what it is from the shape and this name on the side? Oh, that one's already cut. Okay. DA10 mini amp. Look at that. A strap. Candy. Oh, little tuner. Always looking to have one of those as a spare to the other ones on my strings. A cable. What else is in there? Whoa, whammy bar. Wrenches. Alright, that's the candy pack. Oh, extra picks. So this is the Donner full starter kit. I really wanted the guitar and the gig bag, but there were none in Canada. So I had to go for the whole kit. And it comes with its own nice gig bag, which I appreciate. And out of all the colors that were available, I wanted to have this one that looks like pastel yellow. They call it ivory. No, don't drop it now. But to me it's an ivory or a pastel yellow. And to go opposite the teal green Oscar that I bought, I thought another nice bright guitar. So this is the look. It also has an amaranth fretboard on it. Back of the neck is satin. It's very nice. I know other people have showed this before. It has a Donner branding on the neck plate. Has a plastic one just like the Oscar Schmidt did. 3-ply pickguard just like the Oscar Schmidt did. Likely has all the same components on it. And it has very similar pickups. I think they were made in the same place. Although, this one's probably made in China. The Oscar Schmidt says USA made, but it's got all Chinese parts. Everything on the Oscar Schmidt's a Chinese part. This one is probably the same. It's got the same saddles, except that this is an HSS. But yes, it's a very nice color. A little bit got stuff all over it. It's a beautiful yellow. I absolutely love the color. Absolutely love the color. Different from the blacks and the reds. How are the tuning machines? A little sloppy. We'll tighten up those buttons like I did on the Oscar. And see how it goes. Really nice, pretty. Let me check the strings. See what the nut looks like. What's the nut look like? Yeah, it has to come down a little bit. plastic nut. Okay, that'll be replaced with a bone. The action is very high. The saddles are right at the top again, just like the Oscar was. So that'll have to come down, and the pickup heights will have to be adjusted and all that stuff. And we'll plug it in and see what it sounds like before. Hey guys, here we are with the Donner. Unfortunately, the G string is missing because when I was stretching it up to get her tuned up, the ball end broke right off the end of the string, and I'll try to insert a picture. So the rest of the strings are almost in tune. The intonation is way off. I did not change the adjustment of the saddles yet, or the pickups, or the nut, or anything. I haven't done anything to it. I just stretched the strings and tried to get it in tune. The bridge pickup on my standard 65 Deluxe with everything 555 and the gain 5, just like I did on the Oscar Schmidt. Tones all the way up, volumes all the way up. So it drops quite a bit. The pickup heights seem to be the same right across. The middle, neck and middle, neck. So the neck alone is a tiny bit brighter than these two together. Same with then the middle takes this one down in position 4. So I mean, physically, the body and the neck is really good. The butterflies up there are extremely sharp edged underneath, and all the strings are binding on the sharp edges. I've seen that before, and I've had to file them off until I've gotten standard Fender string trees to put on there. So if we go to the middle, this tone works for the middle. But not for the neck. Works for the neck. And so there's no tone for the bridge. Interesting, I've not seen that before. From the outside, this pickguard, except for this bridge pickup, it looks identical to the Oscar Schmidt, and I bet you on the backside I'm going to find exactly the same equipment. And you know, except for the back color of the neck and no skunk stripe on it, it's basically a different neck. Same fretboard, Amaranth. I'd say there's very little difference in the build quality between the two. The neck pocket on this is very nice. There's no cracks anywhere on either side at the moment, so it's pretty good. I did tighten up the tuners because I just couldn't, with the sloppiness in the buttons and the binding underneath these string trees, I just couldn't get it to tune up at all. I'm going to check to see if there's any, uneven frets. The fret ends are dressed really nicely. Again, very impressed with the neck. Very nicely done, except for the nut. The nut ends is very sharp, and the slots are very, looks like an amateur cut them. Not happy with that, Donner. With some tweaking and some changes, this will become a very nice guitar. Okay, the mini Donner amp. I'm caught up. Alright, so on the top, there's a master, volume, bass, middle, treble, gain behind the plug-in, and the white button that turns the gain off and on, which they talk about in the literature as being a British Marshall crunch. So this has a built-in battery. I charged it up. Charges up with a 5-volt standard USB adapter. The back has an auxiliary in for some music sound, headphones if you don't want to have anybody hear how poorly you're playing when you start, and it's got what looks like about 2-inch or 3-inch type speakers in the front of it. So the master volume is at 12. Bass, middle, treble are all down. The gain is completely off at this point. See what she gives me. Okay, not much there. Full volume. Remember, I'm still missing the G string. Alright, so let's take the treble and the middle, put it up. We'll leave the bass down, which is what I normally do. Let's see. So the guitar is on the humbucker. It's all the way up. Not much there. Full volume. Do I need the bass as well? Let's see. Yeah. To get a little bit more volume out of it, you need to get the bass up as well. Could you use this to learn to play? Yup. Alright. I think you'd need to be in the gain mode all the time. Let's bring the volume back to 12. So everything's at 12, except for the gain knob is completely at 0, but we'll push on the gain button. So when you push the gain button down, even with the knob at 0, you get some volume increase. Turn it up. 12. Let's go all the way. Live dangerously. I guess that's the kind of noise a Marshall makes. I guess you can tell I'm not a fan. So, out of the box, you've got something that will make noise. So that's the little amplifier. It's a DA10. They say it's a 5-watt dual channel rechargeable mini guitar amplifier combo. I might find a use for it. Don't know. I wanted to try the audio input, and I think I found a use for this. I'm going to use it as a monitor on my other computer when I'm doing the lyrics for my videos. I do it on another computer, and this would be a good amplified sound to listen to it on. I found that none of the volume controls or any of the controls on here have any effect on the audio in. It has to be controlled from the source. I'm running it from my laptop. So yes, I can use that at my other bench. Okay guys, the workbench is back in operation. And, the new bone nuts arrived, and I'm not fooling around with it at all. I'm just gonna go right for cutting a new nut. It's pre-slotted anyway. All I have to do is make it fit height, and it looks like it's standard spec width. Hopefully that's okay. I was looking at the side of it and I'm thinking the bone nut is smaller in height, or not as tall, but I'm 25 thou on both sides, over 25 thou on both sides, which I want it down to 18 and 16. So if this is down a little bit, that saves me some filing. And this is the initial findings on the nut. The channel was cut much deeper in this fingerboard than the Oscar was, and the original nut is much taller than the bone original, and the width of the bone is a little wider actually than standard spec, so I'm not only going to have to adjust the height, but I'm going to have to adjust the width as well. I'm going after the width first to make sure I can get it in the slot, and then recheck how high it is on both ends, because it's already lower and I want to see how close to 18 it is. This is something I didn't show you last time. I found a piece of granite countertop left over at my daughter's house, and I'm using it as a flat top, a flat surface, to which I just taped some 220 grit sandpaper, and that's my sanding block to be able to do what I need to do with. The other thing I want to mention is that if you're going to do something like this, never sand the front of your nut, always sand the back side, because the slope is cut this way in the nut already and you don't want to damage that front end. The back end is already sloping down, so when you go in to touch it up, if you have to, it's just a matter of cleaning up the back end, and you still get a pristine, nice sharp front end. Little note. And now it's just finger work. A little issue after getting it the right width, which actually didn't take much material off at all, and it goes right in. The channel is quite deep, and the high E string is too low in the slot that the string is hitting the first fret. Don't have enough height, so I checked with my caliper all the new bones, and they range anywhere from 0.160 up to 0.165. The low E side is coming in exactly at 18 thou. So basically I need the other side to come up. And I'm thinking of putting material in there which will build it up, and then I can work on that side of the nut. Alright, so I put a shim, and it just happened to be the thickness of my old Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association membership card, which I cut to size and put in the bottom of the slot. And now I'm going to leave that loose until I end up getting the new strings on. I've got just over 16 on the treble side, and it's just less than a hair over 18 on this side. Don't know about the G, but I think they're all going to need maybe a little file touch-up in the end, which is why I'm leaving that nut loose for now. It'll go in the parts bin. And now I'll work on the neck and get that cleaned up, and check for fret problems from a height and leveling perspective. Wow, I can't believe it's the first guitar I've ever gotten that has 8 to 40s on it. Unbelievable. Smallest I've got is 8.5. I bought as a tester set, but yeah, that's an 8 to 40. As often happens on Strat type guitars, I'm popular with male. You can't get the strings out of the back without taking off this plate. Oscar was different. Okay, I've got some big screws in there too. I hope they're not as deep as the other ones were. Same kind of block in there, same 3 springs, pretty tight. See if we can get them out now. The thinnest ones are always problematic, especially when it's an 8 set. I have never had an 8 set. According to Rick Beato, they sound better than heavier strings. Okay, that's out. Time to get to work on checking up the neck. And I just wanted to mention that I just took the strings off here, right? And the tuners on this have no play in them at all. And I haven't even tried to tighten up the nuts yet. I tightened up the buttons initially, but there's no play in the tuners. All right. Okay, the initial finding is not too bad. The middle of 2, all of 5, middle of 7, middle of 9, upper and lower 14, and good up until there. That's the initial finding, so that'll be going after them individually, and then I'll be able to use those to check the ones on either side properly just to make sure. And so starting off, less leveling issues than Oscar. These small frets, not a lot of material on them. Got to be really careful. We are about to find out what is under the pickguard on this beautiful yellow Donner. I have completed working on the frets. They're all polished, while the neck is soaking up some lemon oil because it was very dry. We're going to take a look in here and see what we can see. I suspect it's going to look a lot like Oscar. One thing I appreciate though is that the screws for the pickguard and the back plate are the same on this guitar. So I don't have to worry about separating 6 tinier screws, which sometimes is not that easy to discern. I have them all? Nope. One more. Fits underneath the fretboard. Unlike the Oscar went up to the fretboard. This one goes underneath the fretboard. Good long wires. Sawdust. A lot of residue left over from the routing, and they just painted over it. Well, you don't see it under the pickguard, so it doesn't matter, right? They left sawdust in there, just like most Chinese guitars do. So there's sawdust everywhere where they drill these holes. Okay, so the bridge pickup is a 2-wire. So it's got a powerful output, but it's only a 2-wire. I cannot split that. Standard switch. This one has 2 47 capacitors in it, whereas the Oscar had one that it was sharing between the 2 knobs, and it didn't tone anything of the 3 pickups. Well, there's sawdust all over the inside of the pickguard as well. I'm going to have to vacuum all that up, so that's going to make a little noise. Stand by. I was able to get all of the loose stuff. There's still a few bits of steel wool, but yeah, I'm just going to knock some of this stuff down. Hey, good news is I think this is routed for a humbucker. I don't have to worry about cutting this time, and because I found that this is not a 4-wire, and these pickups here are very weak. The magnets on the back are so-so. Not as strong as the one on the center of the Oscar. There's wax on the back of that. So it's wax potted. It's a very nice, bright humbucker. Now, because I know this, I'm going to change my mind on what I think I want to do with Donner. So now I think what I want to do is make this an HH. Alright, that's the top side. I'm going to put the pick guard back on. Couple of screws, bag up the rest of that, and it's going to go in waiting